Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to thank Reverend Catherine for speaking last week. She was called, I think, the day earlier and just told to prepare, and she prepared, and it was a great talk. We talk about treat and move your feet in this teaching, and there's a Bible verse that I really like that kind of wraps it up. It's Matthew 7:7. It says, "Ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asks receives, and those who seek find, and for they that knock it shall be opened." I believe that the hardest part of this teaching is asking for help. When I was at home this week, I could hardly move, and yet I desperately didn't want to ask anybody for help. My wife had felt I was so pathetic that she finally would just get up and get me things and stuff, because I would try and get up, and it wasn't a pretty sight, and it wasn't very ministerial. But what it was kind of the way I had lived my life all my life. I didn't want to ask anybody. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to ask help from my teachers. I didn't want to ask help from my friends, because I can do it all myself. And I'm sure there's a few of you in there that think that too. That it's just, I can always do it just by myself. And that's not how the world operates. There's 8 billion people in this world. We're a common unity, a community. And the only way that we ever get any place is to work with each other. But how can we work with each other if we don't really understand what they want, or even what we want? I've had people come up and say, well, you should know what I wanted. You should know what I was asking for, with just some hints that you gave me. But it wasn't the hints. It's not the hints that ever do anything. We have to ask. We have to get clear. Towards the end of my interesting week, I was asking my wife to do things, and she would be more than happy to do them. And it was quite incredible. And she would say, "When are you leaving?" "Today, actually." She said, "Because I'll go out and I'll shovel those walks." And I'm going, wow. There's a lot of energy, I think, that we leave lost because we don't want to ask somebody for help. When we seek something, if we look for something, eventually, if we look long enough, we're going to find it. We just have to keep looking. The thing that stops us is that time, the time challenge that we have. Do you remember in the shopping malls years ago, they used to have those pictures with just dots of paint on them, and you'd have to look at them for 15 minutes or something, and then you'd see a shark or a balloon or something come up, and it was like a 3D picture? I can remember looking at one of these, and I couldn't see anything. And I would look, and I would look, and I would look, and 15 minutes looking, and all of a sudden I'd get really tired of looking at this, and I had no idea what it was going to be. And I said, what am I supposed to be looking for? And somebody said, "You'll know it when you see it." It didn't. I couldn't see anything, and it just frustrated me. Now, if somebody said, you're going to see a shark in there, then that would have given me something to look for. So my whole vision of life in that moment was frustration instead of anticipation of the possibilities of seeing that shark or those balloons. But it was amazing to me to get to that point of understanding that it's how you look, necessarily what you're looking for. What are you looking with? How are you looking in this life? How are you wanting this life to be? Are you asking for the people in your life to support and sustain you? Reverend Catherine, all this month has been asking for people, for volunteers, asking for people to come and help, asking for people to sign up. And that's the only way we can do it. I mean, if we're not going to be asking, what are we going to be doing? We need to ask for help sometimes. Does anybody else have a problem asking for help? One in the back, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. It's a tough thing to get to sometimes. When I asked somebody in that mall what I was supposed to be looking for, and they told me, then I finally saw it. And once I saw it, I could not see it. It was, within a second of looking at this picture again, I could see that shark coming towards me. And it was the most incredible thing. But until I get to that point of actually seeing it, what was I looking for? I think we have to be real clear on what we want in this life. What do we want to be in this life? What do we want to have in this life? What do we want to hold in this life? And once we make that determination, then that's when we start knocking. That's when those doors start to open for us. The point was on that not that I couldn't see it, but most of the time I just didn't know what I was looking for in life. We're looking for a new place to hold our center. And there's some places out that are really, really big, and there's some places out that are really, really small, and there's some places that are very expensive. There's places that are not so expensive. And it's getting to a point of, well, what do we really want, and where are we going to go, and how are we going to grow this? And are we going to grow it in this community, or are we going to grow it outside in the community? Can we do both? All these questions come in to mind. How are we going to do it? And what do we want this center to be? Do we want this center to be that common unity, that community, that warm-hearted place where people can gather together in consciousness, gather together with joy and fun and have a good time and learn about this teaching that is so important in my life? Or do we just want a place? I want that place that honors my soul. And I don't care how big it is. I want a place that when I walk into it, it feels like, this is home. This is where I was meant to be. And if there's 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 people that come in and support it at that time in person, then that's the way it's going to be. I'd like to see a greater idea, greater numbers coming up and manifesting. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen after the COVID thing happens or finishes or ever finishes. I don't know. But one thing I do know, that this teaching will not stop. Consciousness doesn't stop. Love doesn't stop. Peace doesn't stop. Harmony doesn't stop because of COVID. When it first came, it's been almost 2 years now, and you realize that, right? It's been a long time that we've gone through this, and we've done it fairly well. We've gone, we kind of came together in one piece. Where I know a lot of places that haven't. I know a lot of families that haven't. They've broken apart because of what's happened over the last year. This common unity that we have built over the last years, we've lost some people. Some people have moved, some people have moved on, some people have passed. And that there's new people that are coming, new people that are phoning, new people that are texting saying, how can I get involved with more of this? On our Share the Light service, we used to have a candlelight service, but the hotel wouldn't let us have candles, so we thought we would share our light. So we've got little artificial lights that we need in this moment to do what we need to do. And we're going to take those lights and we're going to each share them, but we're going to share it with a remembrance of those that may not be able to share their light. Those who may not have had the opportunity to share their light. those who may not even know that they have a light. Because each person has that magnificence within them to express that perfection that they truly are, but sometimes we just forget. We forget who we really are. I said a while ago that I didn't have much of imagination for some things. And I don't. But what I do have is people that do have an imagination for stuff that I don't have an imagination for in my life. That's why many of you are here. Because you can see something that I may not have been able to see. And I can see something that you may not have been able to see within you. And I was kind of beating myself up about not having an imagination, the perfect imagination for everything. And then I said, are you kidding me? You know, you've done 1,000 talks. You've done a talk on the 3 little pigs and made it metaphysical. And you know the story, right? There's 3 little pigs and the big bad wolf. Little piggy, let me in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. The first pig had a house of straw. And the wolf came in and he easily blew it down. The one pig that had the house of straw moved to the pig with the house of sticks. And again, little pig, let me in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Now, the wolf, to his credit, was asking, let me in. But we don't have to let everything in that comes to us. We can say, no, I don't think so. We'll hold back on this one. And so I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Okay, great. And then the 3 little pigs moved over to the brick house. Same thing happened. We've heard this story over and over and over again. But there's always 3. And to me, it's almost like the Trinity. Always a 3, and then there's always the 4th one out there, kind of the bad one. But when you have number 4 in anything, it means an area of completion. I was thinking about the big bad wolves in my life. And the big bad wolf that I had most of all was my one teacher. Actually, it's not true. The big bad wolf that I had in my mind was my mind. The one that said that you can't do this, you're not smart enough to do this, you're not able to do this. And then what I had was other people supporting me in that vision of my own vision. That I'm just not good enough, or I'm just not smart enough, or I'm just not willing enough. I'm not willing to do the work involved. The person in the straw house was me for the longest time. I was kind of floating on life. I didn't see much point in it, actually. It was just, I'm here for a while, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. My house was blown down. So I went and got into this teaching, and I started this teaching and I made kind of a house of sticks. I had some knowledge, a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of education on this teaching, but it just didn't seem to be enough. It was frail because I wasn't completely clear on what I wanted in life. My house of sticks was easily blown down because I had no firm foundation for it. After I was in this teaching for a number of years, I think I had got the brick house. That I was really clear on what was happening. I was really clear that we are in charge of our own experience. That no matter what we say or what we do or what we think, that manifests in our lives. It says, when you change your thinking, you change your life. And I said, well, when you change your belief more, you change your life. It's getting to that point of, what do I actually believe about this teaching? Do I believe in peace on earth? I mean, with all the wars going on, with all the stuff going on out there, it's really tough to see that peace. But then we're not looking out there. We can't look out there. We have to start within ourselves. We have to start, am I peaceful? Am I doing what I need to do to be peaceful? Am I doing what I need to do to help this peace on earth manifest itself? Because the only one I've got control over is me. So when somebody comes into my face and gets in there, how am I going to react? Am I going to let them push me, or am I just going to kind of do the ole? Because there's no sense in pushing back, because all it does is create something. What we can do is just say, okay, bye. Let's look for something else. Let's look for a greater idea. Let's look for that peace. Because when you look, you start to find it. And it can be found in the weirdest places. I'm finding it on the internet all the time now. And I know there's a lot of crap on the internet, but there's also these amazing things. I saw one today where a cat and a fox got together and just played with each other. And they've done this for years and years. Over in Turkey, they love each other. They share their food. I've seen cats and dogs that love each other. I've seen ducks and dogs, ducks on horses, that they love each other. And they don't want to be without each other. Now, where did all this stuff come from? With this you're fighting like cats and dogs. Well, why? Maybe you could be friends like cats and dogs, because it seems like they're having a good time. We have to envision that which we want, and we can only envision it when we start to look for it. And if we look for all the negative stuff on the internet, we're going to find that. That's easy to find. But look for the good stuff. Look for that that supports you. Look for that which sustains you. Look for that which honors you. So I'd like you to ask yourself, what kind of house do I live in? Do I live in that straw house? Do I live in that house of sticks? Or do I live in that brick house, that house with a firm foundation? That I really truly know who I am and really truly know where I'm going. I think the first two pigs in that story were my committees. The ones that keep telling me that I'm not good enough, and those are the ones that I have to let go of, or either teach a different way. My choice. How do you want your life to be? How do you want your life to look like? Because I'll tell you, if you don't know what your life looks like, then you're never going to get the life that you want. We talk about vision here. Well, I'm talking to envision an idea that you want in life. Just for a second, just go within and just envision today how you would like to feel. Envision health. When I was sick this week, I was going to try and do a metaphysical term, but no, I was sick this week. I was shivering so badly. I was almost out of control. My wife had to get me a hairdryer so I could heat myself up. I was out of it, and I thought, oh, yeah, do treatment. And so I was doing treatment. I was shivering, and I know that treatment that I was doing just wasn't going to go anywhere. I just didn't. I was too concerned with the shivering and the trying to get warm again. So my wife said, why don't you call somebody and do treatment for you? Now, have you ever been to the point where you just didn't want anybody else to know how bad you were? You didn't want them to see you at perhaps your lowest. And yet that's exactly the time we need somebody. So I was wondering who to call. Who would judge me least? And finally I called my prayer partner that I've been prayer partners with for 10 years. And she did a treatment for me, and there was no judgment, there was no anything, there was just treatment. There was just recognizing a higher thing that I could recognize for myself in that moment. It was truly a magnificent time. The shivers left shortly after that. And we can say it's, well, yeah, time heals. Treatment heals. We just have to accept that in our lives, that there's a greater ideal willing to be made manifest if we're willing to let it be made manifest. I want to close with something from Ernest Holmes. From the Living the Science of Mind on page 191. He says, so today is the time in which we should cut loose from the threads of previous experience, whenever they are negative, and deliberately make up our mind that we no longer create our future out of the old past. If we have any antagonisms and resentments from the past, today is the only day in which we can change them. Today is the day that we live. Today is the day that we laugh. Today is the day. Today is the only day. So I know that each person here is that divine expression of love being made manifest right here and right now. And with gratitude for each one of you that are here today, so it is.